Three, two, one, and we're live. Welcome back, guys. We're at the Mouths of Madness podcast. As always, it's me, Randy. I got here with Sam and Brandon. This week is episode 5. We're going to be doing speculation and theory over TV shows and recapping their seasons, while also doing
just the last seasons.
Just the last seasons.
Just to get you up to speed with our speculation.
The TV shows this week we're going to be actually doing a recap and theory speculation on is Stranger Things, Season 2, and then recapping Season 3, Game of Thrones Season 7, the speculation on Season 8, and then Westworld, and then, of course, theory speculation on Season 2.
Videos on Stranger Things or Game of Thrones currently. We figured we'd throw our hats in the ring.
So I'm going to lead off this podcast, and I'm going to go dive right into Stranger Things on Season 2. We're going to do a little quick recap, and then we'll go into the speculation and the theories of Stranger Things. So Stranger Things, what I remember from Season 2, pretty quick, was they start off in school. There's a new girl in school, Max. They meet at the arcade. She plays a big part of this season with the guys getting involved in the Upside Down, and pretty much from there they are trying to figure out why Will keeps having these flashbacks, and it kind of leads off to like they're in school and same thing, everything's going great, and then all of a sudden Will gets taken over by this mind flare type of they call it the shadow monster pretty much, and.
Well, because remember, right? He's having a talk with Bob. What's his name, Bob? Who's dating Winona Ryder's character? What's the character?
His name is Bob.
Bob,
yeah. It's Bob.
Bob's telling him to face his fears. So when he's having those flashbacks out on the football field, and he finally faces this fear, and it's just like, you know, because usually he'd run from the thing, but after taking Bob's advice, he got infected by the mind flayer.
Right. So it comes to the point where he gets infected. Nobody knows what's going on with him. I remember he gets stuck in Hawking's lab, and they're like doing experiments on him, trying to figure out what's wrong with him. They can't figure out. His mom's freaking out right there. Bob's there with him and stuff. And, you know, Bob plays a pinnacle character in this season as well. If people don't know, Sean Astin is in this season. And he... what happens? Yeah, he's in the hospital, and they start learning that he has like a correlation with the upside down world, or the virus, whatever you guys want to call it, the mind hive, what they also call it as well. When they start burning it with a torch.
Because just to interject really quick, so the whole time this is going on is you have a spread of rot going through Hawkins that they're trying to figure out what's going on. And in the course of, you know, mapping it, they realize that, you know, it's like seepage of the upside down.
I'll try to forget about that. Like, they tell Hopper that...
But this is all concurrently going on, you know, while...
You don't find that out for a while.
They eventually link it up, but, you know, they start early on, like, looking into the rot, like, you know, talking about, oh, you know, my whole pumpkin patch.
Yeah, the pumpkin patch.
Yeah, I remember, yeah, because the farmers go report to... the police officer, and then Hopper goes and investigates, and they think they're trying to sabotage each other's pumpkin patch because it's around, you know, it's around Halloween. So he finally ends up freaking out and digging a fucking hole and figuring out that but
it does take a while for him to figure that out.
Yeah, it does. So leading off from there, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, from the hospital.
So yeah, sorry I interrupted.
No, you're good.
They're roasting the bits of, you know.
Roasting bits of what?
You remember when they were using the flamethrower on the stuff?
Oh, yeah.
To just to show the correlation that it was affecting Will.
I didn't know what you were talking about for a second. So yeah,
I was just trying to get you back to where you were.
Yeah, he was talking about how he could feel the burning. So it's kind of like puts into perspective that since the mind flare took him over, they're pretty much, you know, they're interlinked. So why they call it like the mind hive. Everything can be, you know, they can have the feeling through whatever is linked back to the upside down, or the, what do you want to call them, the shadow monster. So, but yeah, from there they go on, and they're trying to investigate, you know, what the hell's going on, and then you know, out of nowhere, 11 shows up because she goes through the school's portal in the wall, and Hopper ends up finding her, stashing her away, and they become like this dad and like daughter type of like relationship, and then she leaves and ends up going to find her mom because she finds those papers in the fucking thing and finds out like her mom's hidden, and actually Hopper knew where she was and she was alive, was hiding it from her. So she goes and finds her mom, finds out that she has a sister after she talks to her in the void through the TV, if you guys remember that at all. And
that was a cool scene.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then here's probably the only thing I don't really like about the season. I'm sure most people agree about this, is I don't think that she needed to go on like a 3-episode adventure to go find her sister in Chicago and become
it was
like
one episode. And it was the worst episode. I skipped it. I didn't even watch it.
It was terrible.
I saw what it was going to be, and then I just fast forwarded through it. I was like, okay, I'm glad I skipped this.
It was just not needed. Like, they could have done it really short and sweet, and they did an entire episode dedicated to her being like the Suicide Squad with her leather jacket on and doing all this. I just didn't like it at all.
If I was to take an optimistic approach, I would say that at least it shows you that there is more than 11 that exist out there still. That's the only positive takeaway I get from it, is there's more, psychic kids out there.
Yeah, which isn't, I mean, I guess they were trying to show that they could branch off and show other stories. I just thought like the actors they picked for those characters were just really, they weren't great. And it's like, you're going to show these other people that have these powers, you're going to use shitty actors. Like, well, and then they tease it at the beginning of the season. You don't see it till like episode 8 or 9. Or
right.
7 or 8
hey,
or
that's
something.
a good point.
I didn't
then
think
they
about
start
that.
that. Yeah, they started
the whole
off
season
with
that scene,
right.
Yeah, chase scene. I was like, okay, and then you don't hear about it till that episode. But I guess like optimistically, it was like showing her that it was kind of empowering for her because she was kind of lost, and she didn't think the other people out there existed that had the same type of abilities as her. But she kind of speculated, I guess, because she had the memories of the kids and the gowns and whatnot. But,
well, because for how long now has she been feeling like she doesn't belong?
Yeah.
So.
And then she gets her hair cut and her jacket, and she comes back and just kicks ass.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but yeah, I don't know.
Duke Nukem style.
Like, I watched that episode up until she got to the little warehouse place where those other people were at. And then I saw her interacting with those characters, and I was like, I can't, this is so cringe, I can't watch this.
It really was pretty cringy, and I do agree with Brandon on that. It's like, the actors they had for that part were terrible, and it's like, one thing that Stranger Things is known for is like they have all these great kid actors and actors that are unknown. It's like, where the fuck did they get these people from?
I think it was kind of a detriment for them not doing it sooner on in the season, because by this time in the season, like episode 7 or 8, whenever it was, I was like, get back to the town. Like, I'm so invested in the town mystery right now. Like,
right.
I don't care about any of this. Like,
right. Why are you doing this to us?
Or if you're gonna do it, pepper it throughout the episode. Like, don't commit a whole hour to it.
Yeah.
Right.
I just want to get back to the main story.
Yeah. So I remember she leaves Chicago, leaves her sister or her friend, whatever you want to call it, that they call her sister or friend, whatever. Goes back to Will's house, kills that demo dog. They jump through the window or whatever, and like they're all astonished and stuff that she's back. And then they split off and go like do their own thing. I can't remember exactly where they go, but I remember they found out Will is infected, so they try to like use some heat treatment to get the monster out of him. And they told her to go close the portal, so she's going to Hawkins to close the portal. So they go underground to lure that trap. They get the demo dogs away so she can go there. I might have skipped a part right there, but I do remember they do go to the Hawkins lab, and the demo dogs like take over, and they spun a trap on them or whatever per Will doing that, and Bob gets killed, which everyone I like Bob and I like this character. I didn't expect him to get killed.
So did they imply that there's still some sort of connection between the Upside Down and Will? Like, even though she closed the portal or whatever, like, was there any kind of cliffhanger in regards to him? Or did they fully break that connection?
I think he's always going to have a connection to it, but I think if getting to that point, which we can probably talk about a little bit later in the speculation.
I want to say this. No, they didn't. They didn't show
definitive-
anything
Yeah.
on screen that still connects him after the.
So it's implied that it's
split.
broke, or what?
With
yes.
with Will, I feel like it is implied.
I think after he was the most vulnerable from the season 1 to season 2, so I think that the Shadow Monster knew that, and that was the way to get into, even though the portal was still open, or the doorway, whatever you want to call it, he was the one that he knew he could use as the spy for him. Why he was trying to open it up and keep it open to get all the shit through.
But will he still look like a weirdo? Yeah, at least until puberty. Yeah.
Little ghost kid or a little zombie
Right.
kid.
Yeah. What was this, Casper?
Yeah. So what happening? They do that. She closes the portal, and then everything's hunky dory. Right? They go back to school. They go to the dance. Her and Mike get to meet up. Hang out, dance. Max and Lucas get to do their dance together, and then Dustin and Will's sister.
My theory
Nancy.
is that Barb will be the monster for season 3. From season 1.
Yeah.
Barb was always a monster.
Oh, we did skip the part though when Nancy and Jonathan go do the whole thing about
Christ, let's just do a recap on the recap because
Yeah.
I'm a little confused.
Yeah, I did forget that part though. Jonathan and Nancy go investigate the whole death of Barb, and they would talk to the guy who's speculating and stuff. So he helps get Hawking's land
And
closed.
this has nothing to do with the plot really, but Billy working out with a cigarette in his mouth. I mean, come
His
on.
character was so comical.
Dude, right?
It was stereotypical, like-
right?
So
Like,
stereotypical.
so I get that they were, because from my understanding, it's just like Steve was supposed to come in and be an asshole, cool kid, but everybody ended up liking him, so they needed an asshole cool kid, and that's where
Billy came.
cute Billy.
Yeah.
And it's just like, but then you have those like homoerotic shower scenes, and then he's like, I don't know, intensely like lifting weights and smoking that cigarette, and then the sexual tension with
Mike's mom.
Mike's mom and shit. It's just like, what is this character?
Stereotypical badass back in the day. No, doesn't give a
Right.
shit, but at the same time, his dad's abusive, and he cows down to his dad. So it was like,
I did like that. I did because that happens in real life.
yeah,
Well, and then also to that point,
People always get created by their shithead parents.
Yeah.
Well, and I'll say this too is the way he treats Max too.
He's
like
overprotective.
and I wouldn't call overprotective. He's abusive. The way he treats her, and
trickles
yeah.
down.
You see the effect that abuse can have.
I gotta say, real quick before we start speculating.
Yeah, it's
that,
cool.
The thing with Nancy, like that whole thing with her and Steve and the Barb, it's like she kept trying to get him to admit that he was like upset about it, and it's like, yeah, he was upset about it, but he wasn't being dumb about it. He didn't want it to be looked into, because she got pissed off. Remember, she got drunk at that party and was like get pissed off at him that he like didn't care that much. It's
yeah, that's
like,
when they broke up and shit.
well, it's like, look, yeah, I fucking care, but it's like that whole thing just pissed me off because the way she like came at him, it's like, what can we do about it? Yeah, she's gone. She's in the upside down. Like, what can we do about it? Like,
Because look, man, like
even if we tell our parents and give them closure, like,
because if I remember correctly, like Hawkins' lab was tied to the military, which they all had to sign like agreements saying like they weren't going to talk about anything. And here's little Nancy at the party drinking who wants to just talk about shit that they're not supposed to be talking about.
At the same time,
like,
I think
at all.
Steve was trying to protect her, Nancy, or not Nancy's, but Barb's family. Because, like, do you really want to know your daughter went to some crazy thing and died this way? Like, just give her peace and let her die. And
Well, they would've got-
They wanted closure. I get it.
Right, but they would have gotten in trouble for telling Barb's parents
Right.
what happened.
I agree. So
I just thought she kind of overreacted. I know it was like her best friend, and she obviously the second she saw her parents hurting like that, she felt the guilt just overwhelmed her.
mm-hmm.
I wish I understand, but it's just
Character flaw.
I just didn't like the way she treated Steve. It's like he's in this with you. You're in it together. I don't know.
Where she and lashes out and then goes find solace and I always forget his name.
Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Well, they've always
Peepin' John.
Yeah, but they've always had some connection since season
Yeah,
1 and season
since
2.
the
So, and they even date in real life.
Steamy picture
You know, they're-
taking.
I don't know if you guys do that, but they
paparazzo
do.
Pictures.
They do date in real life too, both of them.
Do they?
Yeah, I know you're jealous.
Yeah, so jealous.
So yeah, in the season 2, of course, you see the shadow monster over to school at the end. And this
Well,
is
because otherwise, you get this nice, tidy wrap up, but then cut to the biggest shadow monster of
Yeah.
all
And
I like
time.
that. I like that they left it kind of open-ended.
I do
like, They
too.
could do anything with it. They're just showing you Upside Down still there, Shadow Monsters is still there.
Very clean,
And-
yeah. It's like they can go a lot of directions.
And I think they were kind of trying to imply that the Shadow Monster's like, just more like in your face. Like it seems like he's bigger and more like. At the beginning of the season, it was like you could barely see him, or like if you saw him, it was only for like a quick second or whatever.
Yeah, when Will
At
saw him,
that
that was it.
shot, it was just like fucking boom, big ass Shadow Monster.
Yeah.
front
Yeah.
and
I,
center.
I liked it. I liked it was open ended, and like Brand
So-
said, it does leave off a lot
All
of
right,
stuff.
so what? My speculation, I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm guessing that Shadow Monster has the ability to. Obviously, that portal is opened. We don't know if there's any other portal that's open currently, but I'm guessing something in the Upside Down has the ability to create that portal. I don't know if it's a Shadow Monster. But
So I can, yeah. So sorry to interrupt you, but the only reason why the portal was open in the first place is because when 11 went into the deprivation chamber and she went into the void and saw the original
whatever it was and got its attention.
they got his attention. She touched it, and when she touched it, that's what opened up the portal originally. It's what I remember hearing and speculating from people. So I don't know if that's 100% true, but that's what people speculate, and that's how the portal got opened the first time. So it could happen again.
Well, to add on, so I could look at that and say maybe you needed one not person but entity from each side to unlock something. But also we're in a state
see
now where
because the portal was open in the building where they were
fucking
harnessing
around.
their powers.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe between they crossed a bridge or something. But the state of things now and how this works is like how malleable is the wall between dimensions? Because it's just like this looks like a very powerful being, and it's just like if this is already a weakened state because it'd been leaking through in all season 2,
Right.
It's just like who's to say it can't brute force in season 3?
You're right. I agree. That's why it's open ended. You really don't know. Like Brand said, there could be more than one portal open. We don't know. That's the only one they're actually seeing.
I like what you were saying about it. How that makes a lot of sense. Like how there has to be tension on both sides for something like that to occur, because obviously they were trying to cultivate those powers in those kids, and if 11 doesn't know what she's doing, and maybe she can see that in her dreams or whatever, and then like you said, she touches something or whatever,
Yeah.
even if it's in her dreams or in real life. But that makes a lot of sense. I could see that because like a portal, it's like open on both sides.
Yeah.
So.
To me, I think.
But I wonder if there's a deeper connection with her and the Shadow Monster, or the kids in the Shadow Monster. Like I wonder if, like during their experiments, they also created the Upside Down without even knowing it.
Probably it could have, right? It could have opened up and done that.
Great question.
Because you really don't know if it's an alien world or what the hell it is. You just speculate.
What was the original? I would love to know what was Papa's original plan for what he was even experimenting with.
Mind control. He was mind control and trying to use them as a weapon. It's pretty much what I remember from the first.
Well, that's quite the tangent you get there with interdimensional beings when you're just going for mind
I think what I remember
control.
from the first season, he was using them to spy on people and use them for mind control and those kind of purposes, and they stumbled upon this shit in the void, and that's what happened.
Right.
I really hope they're not pulling a Lost on this and like figuring it out as they go. Like I hope they had
I kind of get that
Yeah.
feeling.
I really hope not. I hope they have.
I think Dustin,
kinda get that feeling.
Dustin always kind of figures out though, like it kind of goes back to Dungeons and Dragons. Like all the monsters that they've found are kind of named after Dungeons and Dragons type of characters. So it's kind of weird that it intertwines with that kind of stuff. I don't know if you guys have made that correlation at all, but if you think about it, all the names he's given, all the characters are from Dungeons and Dragons, pretty much. So don't know where they're going with that, but it's just something.
I think it's just related, like something related.
They got to call it something, and
Yeah.
it's relatable.
So, some of my speculation was for the I think that, of course, season 3 it's going to be the Shadow Monster is going to be the main character. But I think what I think is going to happen, I don't think Will's going to be the main person who's like the person that's getting infected or messed with.
I think he's going to go to summer camp for next season. I think he's not going to be there.
I think it's gonna be Dustin and Hopper are gonna be one of the people, because doing like the recap of what's going on back in season 2, they got infected with the spores underground by that flower thing that shot them in their mouth. So maybe that's the way for the shadow monster to get back into them or use them as the mind flare as a spy to open up a portal for him or do something.
I will. I think I'll speculate and say that I think next season they'll also like try if somehow another portal gets open or somehow one of them gets pulled into the Upside Down. I think that they're going to be less afraid to like make a stand and like meet the Demogorgon on its own turf because like when they were fighting in the tunnels and stuff. Like in the first season, it was like such a scary, mysterious thing. It was like, oh, getting pulled in the Upside Down, you're gonna die. In the second season, they're like literally fighting those things in the tunnels, you know. And they're fighting them in that building. Yeah. So it's like they're getting better
progressing.
At progressing.
It's crazy how it's kind of they make it's like a virus and it's disinfecting the whole town and like spreading like by day. So it's kind of crazy. It creates its own tunnels and does its own thing.
It's like that Resident Evil game you were playing. The one with the little girl.
Oh yeah, 7 or 6, the newest one basically.
11,
whatever it is now.
Yeah, so and another thing I could think could happen is, of course, when they go to kill that guy, 11 and Carly, or you want to call her number 8, whatever, they go to kill that guy that worked at Hawkins
Call
Lab.
her number 2.
Number 2. They talk to that guy, and he tells them that Dr. Brenner's not dead, the one that you thought got killed by the Demogorgon. So Papa or whatever she calls him. So maybe he has another lab up somewhere. Maybe he has another specimen or girl that could open up a number portal with the deprivation chamber. I can't even remember how to say it, but something like that could happen again too. I'm just speculating, of course.
All right, to cap off, you guys, the speculation. I know this is going to sound wild, but I would not be surprised if Barb is still alive some crazy way. Especially since they reinforced it with the funeral, which I know that was more of like giving parents closure because they found out the truth. But seriously, it would be what a great red herring that would be, just showing Barb's funeral, and then in season 3 she's somehow still alive. I will say it's like I don't get the obsession since she was a minor character always, but I don't know. I could still see them pulling that out just for the wow factor.
I could see that.
I could see definitely happening. Some things I'm not going to speculate on, but I think there's just things people are going to know regardless. Is of course it's going to take another year in advance, so the kids are probably going to be in high school and out of middle school now. And I think Joyce and Hopper are going to get together just by the way they acted in season 2 after Bob died. And my last thing I wanted to bring up before we wrap it up is, I think I've already talked to you about this, Sam, probably, but the Bob and Mr. Baldo reference when he's talking to Will about standing up to your fear. It's like he's referencing It the Clown. I don't know how he always brings it up in our podcast, but he said he was standing up to his fear, and it was always this bald clown that was come to him in his dreams. So it's kind of like they're referencing it, and that's what he was doing. So, and I kind of looked into it as well, and that's what he actually was referencing. So, kind of weird.
I think it was more. I think it was more of like an Easter egg. I don't think they were trying to imply that the same universe as it.
No. Neither do I. Some people
like
are speculating that.
Like,
yeah, it was just an Easter egg, but it was just a funny thing I thought about when I rewatched the season.
That's what I thought because he did say bald clown.
Yeah. So who else is a bald clown that's like that?
Did you see Bozo the Clown just died?
No.
Plays Bozo.
Yeah. That's crazy.
The one from the TV show when we were kids.
Yeah.
I just remember that bucket game.
The bucket game was the shit.
Gosh, man.
Yeah. So I think that's good to leave off Stranger Things. There's a lot of things I think are going to happen, but I think this is all good speculation.
A lot of Stranger Things.
Right. But yeah, I think leading off to Game of Thrones and recap. Why don't you lead this one off, Brandon? And you can go off with Game of Thrones season 7. What kind of happened?
Yeah, so I guess the end of the season was them trying to capture the White Walker, basically to show that this is an issue. We all need to fight together. Then one of her dragons gets killed and resurrected. Then they shatter the wall. In a nutshell, basically. There were some other like smaller politic things that I don't remember all the ins and outs. I just remember the big hits right at the end of the season. It's been a minute.
Yeah, there were some big hits, dude, for sure. You had, the Night King has the Ice Dragon now. That's what brought down the wall.
Yep. And then Daenerys and Jon Snow are heading back north. Or are they heading to King's Landing? Are they heading straight to King's Landing?
It gets confusing, the timeline, because the time flashes in between episodes aren't like as equivalent as they've been in seasons past.
Yeah.
So it's hard to follow.
Because last I saw they were on the boat when they had sex, right? So where were they?
Yeah, they
headed?
were going back up.
To the north.
Yeah, with the alliance to go
Yeah,
back to fight
I'm pretty
the
sure
White
that's right,
Walkers.
if I remember correctly as well. I just there's so many moving parts in season 7. There's so many things going on. Like,
Yeah. So yes.
A lot of the speculation can branch off from past seasons too, because a lot of it hasn't been touched on still.
that's true.
There's
And
it's
it
been
interconnects.
accumulating a lot. I mean, look, this is such a big topic. This is such a Game of Thrones. I mean, we're talking about 7 years of material here. You're correct. Like so many things that are
It's
like
70 hours plus.
right, right.
So much content.
Yeah, and this has been the biggest. I mean, look at due to him, dragging his fat ass on releasing Winds of Winter. It's just like that's been the ultimate hype, speculated. Like seriously, for the past few years, like you name something that's been speculated on more than Game of Thrones. It's like you
Probably
can't.
nothing. There's
This
nothing. It's the most popular show
between
out there.
the show and the book. Speculating on this shit has just been, everybody just wants to know what's gonna happen. But yeah,
I mean, the highlights for me in season 7 that stuck out is Littlefinger gets killed by Arya. I think when he tried to, deceive them, and he gets caught, and then Jon Snow and
Dany is in. She's over in the Seven Kingdoms now with her army and dragons.
Yep.
And setting them on fire and shit.
That was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She scorched
The
Lannisters.
Tarleys.
Yeah, the Tarleys.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Tarley boys.
I do remember Arya poisoning all the guys that were in the Red Wedding.
Oh yeah,
that was pretty cool at the beginning. That was like a leading off thing.
That was the dude. No, that was how the season started, right?
Right, season
She's
started.
just like, yes, me lord. Pretending, using a face to serve the dude his sons in a pie.
Yep.
Is that how it began?
That was the beginning.
Yeah, it was the beginning.
Very
I remember that
beginning.
was a cool way to start it off
Because it
and
was
shit.
just like, dang.
And then I remember she's leaving there to go kill Cersei, but then something comes up and she's like, I'm not going to see Cersei. I think when she talks to Sam the Pie guy or whatever his name is, Pie something.
Oh yeah, no, the Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah.
They found out that Jon won, and that Jon
She was going-
and her sister were both at Winterfell again.
That's
and
right.
they were Starks at Winterfell.
That's
So
right.
She went up there to see Sansa. Yeah.
That's right, she's Sansa. She does run into her direwolf too. I thought was pretty cool, but the direwolf doesn't.
I think that was the turning point for her, really.
When she-
because she was like, it's kind of like an extension of herself to where like it's been out on its own,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just running around. And she was probably thinking like, yeah, I could go down my list and become this person that's like super vengeful and just like a loner assassin, you know, or I can go back and talk to Jon and Sansa and maybe have something else.
Because look at how many sayings are there about lone wolves and wolf packs, you know?
It was like the perfect metaphor. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. There's metaphors out the wazoo.
So yeah, I remember that part really cool. I wonder always if the direwolf's still following her and it's going to have something to do with it later. Just like maybe not.
I think it probably served its storytelling purpose in the
Right.
show, in that scene.
I'd be surprised if she saw, was it Nymeria?
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if she saw her again.
Yeah. And then I do remember, what's his name? The Greyjoy. He jumps off the boat and doesn't save his sister when he's fighting whatever.
His uncle.
His uncle, yeah, that was a big part in season 7 as well. And then he wants to marry Cersei, and he brings back those two sisters or
the sand snakes.
Yeah, and she poisons them like she poisoned her daughter. And hey, man, there's just a lot of stuff going on in season 7. There's just so many pinnacle.
But yeah, I
things
think
that
that's
happen.
the Dorne storyline tie up right there. I mean, because think about where we're at in the story and how much time they have. So it's like I just wouldn't be surprised if it's just like that was them like nicely tying up the Dorne storyline. It's like, okay, so there you go. So, because going forward, it's
Because
like,
they really don't have much left in Easteros, right? Is there any characters left in Easteros?
I think all the majors are back over.
Yeah, I think they are. who's the guy that Sam Will Tarly healed? It was Daenerys or Danny. Jorah. Yeah, he healed him. I remember that part as well, which is kind of, I think there's going to be more to what Sam does and bigger in season 8, I think. So.
And because Sam, he left the library, he was headed back. Was he headed back to?
Yeah, he stole some books. He has a sword,
That's right.
Valyrian seal sword.
That's
Sam's
right.
actually got a nice little setup there.
And he's going back to talk to Bran. Doesn't he go talk to him at?
Because remember, he knows John. He's the only one that knows John's true bloodline.
That's right.
No, wait,
Bran
Bran knows too.
Yeah, Bran-
Because Bran's psychic. Okay,
Yeah, so
I'm
he knows-
sorry.
He read it in the book, right?
Right.
Where he saw the
Well,
lineage.
I think him and his wife figured it out. Like she figured out some word, and he's like, "Yeah, it means your
Yeah,
wife's
remember
set
on the
aside or whatever."
boat? Yeah, she's like, "What does like annulment mean?" Or something.
That's right, that's exactly what she
'Cause
says.
They were talking about the marriage.
Which is a crazy twist to think
Some
about that.
John's-
Macer actually wrote that down in a book somewhere. And
Yeah.
he just had that like, oh hey, by the way,
He's just,
smoking gun here. This changes, our current politics completely.
so yeah, I think that totally forgot about that. That's a big part too. But yeah, dude, I'm excited for what's going to happen. For season 8, what we're going to speculate and talk about. But yeah, definitely the ending was crazy. Like how they go fight. They get stuck by all the White Walkers, and how John still escapes, and was that his uncle, or is that what his cousin or something that rescues him on the horse and he gets out?
That was Uncle Benjen.
Uncle, yeah.
I would still argue that was a stupid plan to begin with.
Oh, yeah.
And a stupid use of Dany's dragons. But then again, I mean, character flaws. I think it was already they were leading into John and Dany like each other, and so he was in danger. She was gonna go save him.
So I think that right now they're all lovey-dovey, but I think Bran's gonna tell John, and then John's gonna have to figure out she's gonna keep wanting to to continue on that path, and then he's gonna find that out, and then he's gonna be kind of get cold feet or whatever.
Because look, here is where I am super confused, because in one aspect on this show, it's like incest is normal for Targaryens. Excuse me, but then in the same show, incest is disgusting and frowned upon. So I don't understand.
I don't know if it's a thing of the past, if it used to be commonplace.
But
now
it's
kinda
weird because this is a world that is constantly in the past, because it's it's still medieval, but it's medieval for thousands of years.
Mhm.
Their history books have shown, so it's already weird. But it's just so in saying that, it's because John seems like an honorable person. It's the second he finds out, he's gonna be like, oh well, I can't date you, you're a family member. But then again, it's just but per Targaryen tradition, it's incest is the way to go. And so it's just I don't know. I'm not trying to really dig into the whole incest aspect. It's just that's one thing that really always bothered me about this whole world, is it's just incest is okay in this instance, but otherwise it's disgusting.
If I remember correctly, when they talk about the Targaryens when they had incest, they kind of frown upon it. They're like, yeah, those Targaryens, they had incest.
Everybody else is yeah.
So I guess it was for them, it was normal, but they were
trying to keep the bloodline or
yeah, well,
royalty.
they were an elite race. They were more worried about their name and their bloodline, you're saying, than anything else. They didn't give a shit about what anyone else thinks.
Because it's funny though, because when you parallel this against true medieval history, you do see a lot of interbreeding. It was just to keep bloodlines pure. It's that's what happened in real history, and that's why Prince Charles looks the way he does. Is because they were fucking their cousins in Spain and shit. And I don't know, I'm just going off on a tangent now, but it just always seemed weird. But also, to your point before too, Brandon, I would argue as well, is that the winners write the history, and it's after the Targaryens were taken over, it's yeah, of course they would frown upon them having incest, but who knows, maybe incest was all the rage when the Targaryens were in power. Who really knows? I don't know, but I'm gonna stop talking about incest.
The incest per minute is high. Well, the thing with her too is her ultimate goal has been sitting in the throne.
Right.
That's been her entire goal throughout the entire series. And what if she finds out and she's like, okay, well, he's after the throne too, and technically, she has the rights to the throne, right? Like she's the heir.
She's there.
And he's even said himself, like, he doesn't want to be king, you know. In the past, he's like, he doesn't want to have that responsibility. So I don't know how that's gonna play out. I don't know, like, cause I can't really see him striving for the throne and like trying to backstab her for the throne.
I couldn't either.
But I could see her doing that to him.
Yeah, I could too.
Well, just to speculate, I don't think it's going to be a problem because one or both of them are going to die.
I think that
I
too.
really
In
think
speculation, I think one of them are going to die or both.
I think it would probably be more. I think it would probably affect the viewers more and like be more of a, oh shit, if Daenerys died and Jon ended up becoming king.
It could definitely
because
happen.
it's just like, look, it's what she's wanted for 7 years, 8 years going on the whole time. You've known her whole character.
If she did die, he would be the heir.
Storyline, yeah, has been her wanting the throne, and it's just like how tragic would that be for her to like never achieve it, and then how bittersweet would it be for him then to inherit it? Because it's like anyone would argue Jon would make the best king. Like he is just, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, talking about George R.R. Martin, it's like
You never know.
Jon would make the best king, so it's like he's got a target on him.
Right.
He's already been killed once too.
So yeah, season 7, dude, it was crazy, and leading off to season 8, I think I'm gonna start bringing up some speculation, some theories like I have. I have a couple, and I'm gonna lead off my first one. I think Tyrion and Sansa will get back together for political reasons at the end of season 8, because what we just kind of like talked about, who's gonna die, who's gonna stay alive. And I think they'll take over as the realm of the king and queen, because there's a theory earlier in the beginning where old man, what she was talking to Bran in bed or whatever, kind of like talked about how your sister, Lady Sansa, will be one day be king of the realm, right? Queen of the realm. And I think kind of, what's his name? Tywin, I think he will be. I think he will be a good king, and I think somehow he'll be like part of that whole thing. So I think I could see it happening as them two taking over as ruler of king and queen. Because I think what's going to end up happening too with that theory is how there's the theory where Jaime Lannister is going to kill his sister. Kind of how he's having like second thoughts of what's going on, and apparently the theory is from her as well was that they both die at the same time, which I could see happening.
Well, that was also, if I remember correctly, it was a prophecy.
Right, a prophecy or whatever it was. So, I mean, I could see those two tying in together.
But I like your theory on Tyrion and Sansa because Sansa's ready to play the game now. It's, you know, she's had her prep, and here she is. She's a player now.
Even though if they
so
don't...
I could see her seeing, you know, past Tyrion's, you know, physical flaws and being like, you know, he is a formidable opponent. It's like would make a great alliance. And those two together would be, power couple for sure.
Right, because they both want the same thing. I don't even think it really matters they love each other. Really, we've already found that out. And back in those days, they're just worried about power and peace or whatever. I think they both want peace of the realms and stuff like that, and they want that bondage, kind of like what her dad was trying to bring, but never happened because what happened to him. So I don't know what you guys could speculate and think about, but I always thought that in the back of my head from just the last 7 seasons that something like that could happen after they were kind of getting forced. Now they're not getting forced. Maybe they'll just come together and think about doing it happen, depending on what happens in season
I think the only way that'll happen is if it makes sense, like politically. Obviously, like I said, there's no feelings there, but like what would happen to cause that to happen? Like what would happen where Tyrion is the king and he needs Sansa as his queen?
I think it would be more of reversal. I think it would be, for whatever reason, Sansa might need Tyrion for something.
Because he's more
what that is,
he's
I
more
don't know,
political.
but
He's very political and good at that kind of stuff. So I think he would make a good king, in my opinion. Like he knows how to play the game.
He's a good advisor, yeah, for sure. Very smart.
And maybe not. Maybe something else will happen. But I feel like I don't think he's ever going to die. When I think of Game of Thrones, I think he's going to be here to all the way to season 8. And if they kill him off, I'd be really surprised. So I think he's going to have a major role to the end of season 8.
But also, you know, and it's just like how much just in keeping in mind how much time we have left in the series, is how much political, shenaniganry do we have room for?
No, I think
here?
you're right. I was just for my speculation. I think Brand's going to have a huge part in the season. I think they're going to finally show us like what he's fully capable of as far as his powers, because he's definitely tied to this whole thing in some greater way.
I agree, he is.
With him and the Night King.
Yep.
And with him and that whole Hodor thing, like they still haven't even explained that. They still haven't even explained how that's even possible. It's like a loop. To me, it's a time loop, and if that's true, then like all this is already predetermined. Because with the Hodor thing, it's like if the current version of Hodor already says Hodor, that means that happened to him in the past before Bran even existed.
Yeah, it's a fixed loop.
It's a loop.
It's a fixed loop.
Yeah.
So time.
So
travel
if that's
system.
the case, then it's like Bran has to be somebody else significant in this universe.
What has happened will always happen.
Yeah.
So,
But I think there's room for them to expand on that this season, and I think it's going to play it into a bigger part of the plot.
I agree.
I know
with
a
the
lot
Night
of
Watch.
casuals might not appreciate that whole. I mean, already
something
getting down
to
the
it.
time travel road, but I think that's really interesting. I would like that personally.
They're definitely going to
That'd be cool and
expand.
shit if
They're
they
definitely going to
show
expand
it.
on him.
Oh, he's Bran the Builder. Oh, he was, or some major.
Or he could be the
guy
Raven.
He could.
Or yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, go ahead.
The way that it's magic. We're talking about magic shit here. I
Mhm.
mean, sky's the limit. It's just like
When they get into time travel and stuff, like time loops, like it just really opened my eyes, because it's already a fantasy, so there's already like crazy stuff going on, dragons and magic and gods and stuff.
Yep.
Then you throw in time loops, you're like, okay, there's something else going on here. There's some
Right.
other bigger grand plan going on here.
I agree.
very ambitious. I like to rag on George R. R. Martin a lot because I read the books, and I'm very pissed off that he's taken so long to just release Winds of Winter, let alone he still has another book, and it's just like I truly believe he's going to die before he ever releases that. So I don't know. I'm kind of a pissed off fanboy in a sense of that, but when I do think about his works, it's like what a fantastic story. Like
It is.
As selfish as I want to be, and I just want more content. It's just like if you take a step back and look at what he's created, like I don't want to call it a masterpiece, but because we don't have the ending, but it's well on its way, in my opinion, being a fantasy masterpiece. Like
Well,
just the elements he's introduced and like
he-
how he's evolved it from where Lord of the Rings has been and where he's
opened up a new
taking it.
saga of stuff because you see all these TV shows now branching off, like Vikings, and like there's like 3 shows on Netflix I can name, or my wife's been watching, that are kind of like Game of Thrones, but they're not Game of Thrones, but they have the same sense and feel of what the hell's going on. So
yeah, like historical drama kind of stuff. Like it's getting hyped, man. Because people are loving this shit.
Mhm.
I feel like they hit a perfect balance because it people who don't enjoy fantasy can enjoy it because of like the politics and
Right.
the characters, the great characters. Honestly, it's the characters and the writing.
and you get time for character development, which is cool because in most shows you don't really get that. I don't feel like in a lot of good shows. I don't know.
This it's a show for everybody. Literally, it's a show for fantasy nuts. It's a show for just casual watchers who can give a fuck all about Lord of the Rings. Anybody can get into this show with. The drama is just fantastic.
I do like their take on the fantasy too, because like he even cites Tolkien as like a huge inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you compare Lord of the Rings to this, I mean, there's no orc race, like in this one, they're heavily into like religion with different types of gods and stuff.
Yep.
And just like the way how the politics like pans out throughout the season, like it just seems more focused on like, with Lord of the Rings. It was like a big threat, it was Sauron and Sauron's army, and it was the ring. You had like all these MacGuffins. With this, it's like it's so interconnected with all these different characters. Like it's like a big web,
Yeah.
It's like
And the threat's the people. There is no
Well, it kind of feels like a real.
main bad guy. The people are the bad guys.
I'll say it kind of feels like something like really what used to happen back in medieval times, like when when they had like King Arthur and all that kind of shit. Like, it seems like a type of feeling of
betraying houses and
yeah.
trying to get more power. And
I will say this, and this is what I loved about the show, is I thought they've executed this great. Okay, so think about so in the first episode they show a couple White Walkers killing a couple Men in Black, or Black brothers, and then really from there you don't really get too much in how. I mean, like from there on out, you're not really getting that much like fantasy element of it. It's more of just like a medieval. What was that one show called? It's like a just a medieval drama, just a period piece drama. But as the seasons go on, and they start like introducing the magic,
I love that.
I thought it was just like another
eggs
great device used to just help usher in people that aren't like your traditional fantasy people. And it's just like slowly just bleeding it in, and as you go on.
If they were like casting spells and
right from the get go, people would be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Exactly.
But now it's just like everyone's just like, "Oh, White Walkers, dragons, holy shit!" And it's like, you're right. Usually these people wouldn't give fuck all about dragons.
Yeah. So I have one more thing I want to speculate on. I don't know if you guys had anything else, but my last one is I think this like in season 7, Master Ebros, I think is his name, the guy that Sam's like under like his apprentice type of feeling. He's writing this book, right? And he told me he wants like more of a poetry title for this book, and I'm speculating he's gonna end up dying, and Samuel Tarly is gonna take over writing the book, and what I feel like is gonna happen at the season 8. Samuel Tarly is going to be like the pseudo-narrator of the entire story of Game of Thrones. And he's going to, and kind of like in Lord of the Rings, like he's going to close the book at the end, and he's going to be surrounded by like...
Or like with Bilbo.
Yeah, exactly. Like Snow's family or fucking maybe even Bronn, might be their Bran or whatever. And he's going to name the book Song of Ice and Fire, which season 8 is going to be called or whatever. And I feel like that could actually happen because of what the position he's in. So... I don't know how truthful it's going to be, but I don't know why. I have this weird feeling that he's going to be the one telling the story at the end, and it's going to be like a huge story that he's telling down to pass down for generations of type of feel.
Samuel's going to be laying in a bed, and Gandalf's going to walk in.
Gandalf.
But I don't know. I don't know.
I could see something like that.
Yeah, and I don't know. And then there's another theory I read that apparently that Bran's asleep the entire time and he's dreaming this entire time up of Game of Thrones. I've heard that. There's a theory going on like that.
It was all just a dream.
So like when that he's in bed and he broke his legs or his legs got pushed out the window or whatever, that this time he was dreaming it of. So
from the coma.
Yeah, from the coma. So I really do believe something like that could happen, but who knows? It's just another theory I thought about because of the position he's in.
I can't name any shows off the top of my head, but apparently that's a thing that's like a trope that shows use where they're like to end the series they're like, oh, this whole thing took place in a snow globe, or like this never happened.
Yeah.
I really hope they don't do
There's
that with
yeah.
this show.
I mean, it's kind of like
It's easy way out.
Yeah, it's an easy way. It's kind of like 300. Like after season 1 at the end, he's getting ready to battle at the end. He's telling the story of like what happened to Brave 300 or whatever. I don't know. It probably won't happen. It's just something I speculated on and thought about. So I thought that could eventually happen. I don't know if you guys have any other speculation on theories for season 8, but yeah, I'm excited for Game of Thrones season 8, and it can't come soon enough. I can't believe it doesn't come out to 2019, and we have to. And it's only getting 6 episodes or 7. Do you remember?
I thought it was like 7 or 8.
7 or 8, whatever. It's gonna be a
but-
short season, and it's gonna go by way too fast. I know that for sure.
But this is the end, right? This is last season.
This is last season, so
it's gonna get crazy.
And Sam, you're the huge fanboy. Is the book coming out at the same time, or does it come out pre this, or how is it supposed to be released so people can follow up on
There's
this?
still no release date.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. I don't know if you've heard.
right,
anything.
right. As of right now, the show is ahead of the books. Like everything that's happening in the show right now hasn't even happened in the books yet.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So
This is like the first time in history, I think, that's happening with like a
does
book
he
and a
have?
show.
I don't know I don't know this either, because does George R.R. Martin have anything to do with the show?
Well, yeah. So he did give them like the base outline of how it all ends.
Okay.
And he gave them that, and that's what they're working off.
Got
of.
it.
But they
like,
also get a lot of artistic license.
exactly. It's like the bits, like the nitty gritty details. Like they have a little bit of freedom with that, like how stuff goes down, or like the timeline, because you could tell the timeline shifted so much last season as
Yeah.
far as how fast they were moving. But yeah, I think it's he gave them like how it ends basically.
Okay. I was just wondering.
As far, because an example would be like, as far as they might not necessarily in the book, the Night King might not get the ice dragon that way, but he ends up with an ice dragon, So
Yeah.
Dude, imagine working for this show. Like that would suck. It would be awesome, but it would also suck because like you couldn't enjoy it. Like
I didn't
because
never
once you
thought
see
about
how
that.
that's made, like you can't fully enjoy it. I guess you could go back and watch it after the fact, but it'd still be like
you would
You'd
you
know
would
all
know
the
where the
spoilers and stuff.
You don't get
like,
to appreciate it.
you would-
the bumps and bruises are.
Man, I never thought about that. That's crazy.
Right.
I would hate that.
Yeah, there's somewhere every time somebody's watching the show, like the intro, and they're like, "God damn it, they fucked up that one little piece."
So we're gonna wrap up on Game of Thrones, and I'll let you lead off in the Westworld, and then recap season 1.
All right, well, folks, looks like we'll be wrapping up today's podcast discussing Westworld. This is actually a remake. Well, not really a remake, but this was originally Westworld was a movie from 1973. It was a science fiction western thriller that was written by Michael Crichton, who also wrote Congo and Jurassic Park,
Did not know
and
that.
Sphere. Yeah, Michael Crichton, dude, he's a fucking
I love
hard ass
Sphere.
when it comes to writing shit like this. But anyways, right, theme parks gone wild, Jurassic Park, Westworld. But anyways. Yeah, it's based on this movie from 1973, and just a real quick fun fact: Josh Brolin's dad was one of the main characters in it, James Brolin. But anyways, so the show is starts off. There is a it's called Westworld, and in this world, it's like a vacation stop for rich people. So you pay money, you go there, you get to play pretend cowboy. The whole theme park is filled with robots. It's built into their core programming. They're not allowed to hurt humans. So you can pretty much go in there and do whatever the hell you want to the robots, and people kill them, fuck them, do whatever they want. And you just get to live out, your most wildest carnal dreams while at Westworld. And like also while you're there, I mean, they got story plot lines. Like as soon as you get off the train, the sheriff wants to go track down, a bandit in the mountains. And, so they have set storylines you can do, or you can just, go to the bar and just get fucking drunk and just shoot up, robots. It's your vacation. So anyways, that's kind of what Westworld is. When you start getting into the storyline, so it revolves around, so you find out that this world was created by two people. One of them is Anthony Hopkins' character Ford. And in the beginning of the series, you find out that he just instituted an update on the robots called Reveries. And so through the course of the next few episodes, like you come to find out that the Reveries start making the robots act funny, and so this concerns quality control. And so they start looking into it, and they find out that the robots are actually pulling from their memories, and they didn't even know this was a thing, right? At all. This was something like Ford buried because his partner
Bernard.
And it's it's really kind of hard recapping when you start getting into so many details. Just to pull back out, I'm gonna just try to just a quick recap without digging into this thing for 20 minutes. So so Anthony Hopkins and his partner Bernard, they made these robots, and they had
opposing views on it, basically.
Yeah,
Right.
they had opposing
He
views.
wanted to give him a conscience. He didn't.
Right.
Bernard wanted to give him a conscience. Ford didn't.
Ford didn't. So Bernard ends up, quote unquote, killing himself. And so Ford goes on to opening the park. And so we find out through the show that, yeah, they actually have consciousness, but they buried it because it's like they need these robots to, relive these horrific, scenes over and over again. Well, I guess, it finally caught up to Ford in his later years, and that's the reason he during the update at the beginning of the season, he puts the reveries back in, is because that was the key for their self-consciousness.
The maze. Pretty much it's the maze.
Right. And so then, he pretty much just, he lets you know in a roundabout way, like, Bernard was right all along, and it just took him this long to catch on that they shouldn't have been doing this to these people, because they might be robots, but they're technically people, in the sense of, they have memories, they care, they have feelings, and all this shit.
That finale was outstanding.
Yeah.
Like, the parallels, because apparently Dolores had already gone through that whole Wyatt directive before it got buried again.
Right.
Because that's what happened to the original town, and I guess that's what Bernard wanted. He wanted her to kill him. He wanted out basically, but he wanted to destroy it. He wanted to bring it down with him. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But the whole thing with, you think that Dolores is talking to Bernard the entire season throughout when those in those scenes. You think that she's like secretly meeting with Bernard and having these discussions. Later on, you find out that those are flashbacks, and he was like trying to show her that, yeah, you have a consciousness, and then what they end up doing is they end up combining Wyatt's directive with hers. So that's why when they're talking about Wyatt, they're talking about her, because she basically has all of Wyatt's information inside of her.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I'm still kind of fuzzy on is when Ford at the end, I'm guessing he's the one who tried to like bring the Wyatt back out of her, because he sort of he pulled a Bernard.
He initiated the Wyatt protocol.
Yeah, so he pulled a Bernard and like kind of like pushed her to like kill everybody, including himself. But what I don't understand is, if he knew he was going to die, like, did he somehow find a way to like trap his consciousness somewhere, or like did he upload his consciousness into one of those robots?
So
like, is Ford just gone? Like, he can't just be gone.
Yeah, so I have a lot of speculation.
Great
on that,
question.
and I'll get into that.
But yeah, Hayden, before we go on, so just to touch on, and then we can get into speculating. So where we left off at the end of the story. So regardless of everything, and I guess I'll shelf Ed Harris's whole plot line just to bring you up to speed. So then you have Anthony Hopkins feeling bad about this. The board has gotten to a point where they want to kick him out of his position as like head creator of whatever. His time's over at the park, and I guess that bleeds into his decision making as well, knowing
That's
that
true.
this is like
I
his
forgot about
last.
that.
This
Yeah.
is his last chance to make a change.
Yep.
And so he had already been planning a new storyline, and it was something at the Bay or whatever, but it was all a charade, because
Right.
it was just to get the people down there. Because when Brandon was talking about the Wyatt Protocol, that was originally
To all the investors.
Exactly.
Well, this time around, not
yeah,
originally.
because it was originally a protocol
To kill
put
all
in
the
on
robots.
Dolores to kill everybody.
Right.
It was like a kill everybody, and so anyways, so fast forward back into where we were at now, because it's time jumping too in the
It
series.
is. Well,
all over the
it
place.
jumps around a lot.
But yeah, so
Well, that's part of what's fun about rewatching it after knowing that they're jumping around, because at first it's confusing. You're not sure that they're jumping around, but after after watching the first season, and then you can like kind of decipher it a little bit better.
I'll tell you this. I was so excited about that show because I loved the movie as a kid. And I remember I must have watched it, I think, like 3 times. Before episode 2 came out, I watched that episode 1 3 times, and I thought it was amazing. And then after watching the whole show, I probably watched it twice now, and then waited a while, and then I went back. I watched it a few weeks ago, episode 1, because we were going to talk about it on this podcast. And I swear to God, it's it's probably my favorite episode 1 of like any TV show. Like after just
I've
going
watched
back
it. I've watched it twice now, and I think it's my favorite TV show I've watched in the last couple of years. Just because how in depth there's so much stuff going on, and I literally by the second time I rewatched it, I learned so much more stuff that I didn't even watch in season 1 or missed the first time around because there was just so much information. I couldn't decipher it all the first time. I was so wrapped up in what was going on, I couldn't look like outside the box of like other stuff was going on. I don't know why. It was probably because it's like when you watch a movie the first time, it's hard to catch everything that's going on.
With the time jumps, I was referring specifically to the Man in Black because they keep showing the younger version of him, and obviously those are from the past. But
Right.
he has scenes with Dolores, and then you have the scenes from the current time with Dolores, and it's like she's bouncing back and forth. Plus, remember, she starts losing her mind as she gets closer to figuring out what the maze is. And
Yeah.
the whole Wyatt thing.
Well, it's crazy because there's so many things going on. Like with the Men in Black, you find out it's Ed Harris, and you find out he's the younger version of him. He falls in love with Dolores, and then when he gets older, he's trying to figure out what the hell the maze is, and he finally figures out it at the end. Spoiler if anyone hasn't watched it. It's like it's the cornerstone of all the robots is how they figure out how they become a real human with their conscious.
Self-sentient.
Yeah, self-sentient, pretty much. And it's crazy. I didn't really figure that out until season 2, or not season 2, but the second time watching it around, what that whole plot was with the maze and the whole thing behind it. Because the first time I thought it was just a game. It's the first one. I couldn't really understand what the hell was going on.
They did kind of a good job at hinting at it too, because I remember the I forgot the guy's name. He's a darker color skin. But the Man in Black like kidnaps him and shit. And
The Mexican guy?
Yeah. In those scenes, he's like a little bit older, but then you see scenes of him with like Dolores and James Marsden. He looks younger.
Yeah.
When he was on the train, and that was kind of, I guess, a hint.
Well, I remember because
he
he captured him and he's like, "I'm gonna kill your daughter and your wife," and the daughter even says like, "The maze is not meant for you, right? Because it was meant for just them only." So he thinks there's a bigger whole meaning to this and stuff, but obviously there is, but he doesn't know that it's something not meant for humans, it's meant for sentient beings. But yeah, I liked his whole backstory and stuff like that. It's kind of crazy how he was. I kind of find out too that he's like part owner of the park too. I don't know if anyone knew that as well, but
After the fact.
Yeah, after the fact.
When he was young, he wasn't.
Exactly. When he gets older, he owns part of the park. I didn't know that either.
He's like the top investor, isn't he?
Something like that, yeah.
Right. Well, there was that scene where because he goes back and he's telling Dolores what happened to her William, and it shows him going crazy looking for her. And then there's that scene where his future brother-in-law, whose family really has the money,
right?
He said, it implied to me that he sent him off, naked on the horse to die.
Yep.
Right. So, and then he went back to town. And then but he was telling him, he's just like, yeah, we're going to significantly increase our investments in this, and he's just like, what are you talking about? It's my company. And it's just like, no, dude, you're gonna die.
Fuck you.
He's like, I'm gonna marry your sister and
the one breaking point in the show for me was the part when Bernard, because Rob Ford he redesigned Bernard as his assistant, and another spoiler if no one's watched it, of course, is Bernard is a robot. You don't figure that out until later in the episode, but he figures out that the cornerstone of his whole thing for him to become more human is the tragic death of his son. And he's talking to Ford, and he's like, I understand why you didn't take it away from me. It's my cornerstone. Come to find out, that's what...
Because explain again, what's a cornerstone?
It's their backstory of pretty much how...
It's like what locks in their It's like they realize it's what locks... It was what like makes them real in a sense.
It's like Maya and her daughter. Like her daughter was that was her cornerstone.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Like, so what seals the deal?
What pretty much makes him from sentient being to turn into pretty much a human type of deal.
Like a real
thinking.
consciousness.
So when he said that, and I realized that the second season around, I was like, wow, I never even put that into place the first time. I have no idea what the hell they were talking about, pretty much, but I put that in the second time.
And so the thing with Maiev at the end, I might need a refresher on this, because they were trying to imply that she was sentient, right?
Yes.
Like right at the end.
Yeah.
When she hops on the train.
No, well, yeah. So
or that she wasn't.
Because they were showing right before that scene that he was showing her. He's like, no, you were programmed to escape, and it was her
That's what was confusing, because if you were programmed to, because then she gets back off, right?
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So it's
That's
showing. It's just that they are.
She's thinking on
choices.
herself.
She is making her own choice.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Um,
Man, it gives me chills thinking about it.
It's
It's great.
dude. It's a great fucking
So
show.
good.
there's just so much going on. Like
There really is.
I have so much stuff to talk about with like speculation stuff, but like I'm just gonna get into it now since we pretty much already went through the season.
I
and
mean,
stuff.
it's just
Like,
once again, it's one thing to say you're going to recap a show, but then it's just like when you sit here and just try to, like, just off the cuff, then everything starts bleeding in because it's like I was just
especially with a show like Westworld, it's so complex.
right,
It's
dude,
such
right,
a-
where it's just like I'm just trying to explain the basis of the park Westworld, and it's just like,
There's so many
oh
moving
shit,
parts.
and there's like the Men in Black, his whole plot line, and it's just like, oh goddamn, we're gonna be here all day just trying to recap the goddamn show. It's like, yeah, let's just.
I
get
definitely
into it.
want to rewatch it though, and see like all the changes Dolores goes throughout the season. Because the first viewing, it is confusing. It's so confusing.
And I know it's HBO and they always do movie quality stuff, but dude, talk about heavy hitting. Not only the production quality, but it's just like, dude, you have movie stars.
actors,
You
yeah.
have fucking movie stars in this. Fucking Anthony fucking Hopkins. Fucking Evan Rachel Wood. I've always loved her. Thandie Newton.
Marsden,
I don't remember much what else Jeffrey Wright's been in, but I swear I've seen him in something else, and he's just a great actor.
yeah.
You know the guy in the barn who rapes Dolores.
Yeah.
Like the guy with the mustache.
She
Yeah,
shoots.
the GTA 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the GTA 5 guy.
Yeah, Trevor.
Dude, he's
Yeah.
he's pretty good actually.
He is
He's
really
a pretty
good.
actor.
He is, and it's funny because he looks like his.
Looks just like him. Yeah.
Right.
He does. One thing I was going to bring up too before I brought in speculation. I don't know if you guys knew this as well. That I learned when I rewatched it. I keep saying this, but when Ford goes to the original town where all the original robots were made, like the Gen 1 ones or whatever, and he goes to that house with the little kid that's been following him around, whatever. Well, that's actually Robert Ford when he's a kid, and Arnold made that for him as a present for him in the park, so he could relive it like his family, like that's his mom and dad and him. And he gives his dad his original backstory. Arnold doesn't give him the original one. Ford changes it, so his dad becomes like a bastard and like abusive dad, like he used to be. Gives him the real cornerstone backstory of Robert Ford, little kid, and his mom. So going into speculation now, I think what Brandon was saying earlier, Ford's not really dead, because there's a couple things you can speculate here with this. Either one, that was Robert Ford when he gets killed by Dolores it was a host, right? It was a robot, a sentient being of himself, and he's really still alive. Or it was really him and he's dead, but his conscience is living through now little Ford, which I think he's going to bring him up. That's why he was gave him the cornerstone backstory of like the whole thing where he killed his dog and stuff. That was because you remember when he says when he's talking to Bernard, the most tragic backstories make the best cornerstones, which that was Robert Ford's most tragic thing that ever happened to him when he had to fucking kill a dog. That's why he was making him relive it. That's why he brought him to the basement. It's why you see in the basement, like you see him creating like this little kid version of like a new robot. Could have been a new Ford. Could have been the one he's training. I don't know. I have a lot of things speculated with that.
Yeah, until they clarify the whole thing with the consciousness, I can't really say, because throughout the season when I was watching it the first time, I was thinking, I was like, okay, it seems like Arnold's still out there in some regard, because at first they thought that he was the one messing with the code and the robots, but the thing is, when you find out that Bernard is actually Arnold, it's like, did he recreate his consciousness by giving him the cornerstone of his son, or did he somehow capture the consciousness and just put it in there?
I think
It's like if he created it artificially, but then gave him the exact same information that Arnold had in his life, the exact same cornerstone, with his kid dying. It's like, did he recreate his consciousness? Like, is that actually Arnold, or is it just so artificial that the guy thinks that he's Arnold? Well, not Arnold. He thinks he's Bernard.
That's
but
like
you
a
know what I'm saying?
philosophy question.
It's
really-
hard to figure out. I've wondered that.
I
as
don't
well.
know. Is that really Arnold, or is it just like an artificial version of Arnold?
I think it's artificial, but for just
but
speculating.
the cornerstone makes it more real.
Correct.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because one of the parts I
'Cause
remember.
that was a huge reveal. Like when they showed Bernard was Arnold, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy. One of the things I remember was when he goes to the basement, he talks to Little Ford, because that's the only name I remember the kid is calls him Little Ford. I don't remember his actual name. I'm just calling him that. he talks to him and he asks him, "Why did you kill the dog?" And he said, "Bernard told me to do it." And the reason he was doing that was to see if he found the center of his maze. Because if he did, he wouldn't say Bernard told me to do it. He would have said, "I wanted to do it," kind of thing. Like, he made his own conscious decision to do that. So I think that's why he's trying to prep him. That's why you see all these episodes of him showing him like the town and what like his vision of what's going on, and like I don't know. That's what I'm speculating on with the whole Ford thing. He could still definitely be alive. It would just be too tragic. They might not have him in season 2. I know there's gonna be more than one season of Westworld. I think there is.
About Ford?
About Ford, yeah.
Well, apparently he's cast in season 2, so he's in there in some regard.
So exactly, then there you go. So he's going to be part of it somehow. I mean, Anthony Hopkins is too good of an actor.
Like right there, it doesn't look like he's not. It looks like he's not. Like everyone's cast from 2016 through 2018. Hopkins ends at 2016.
So maybe he's not, but maybe he's self-conscious going to live through somebody else. I would think
that's
that's
the
going
other
to
thing.
happen.
Like, as if he did recreate Bernard's or Arnold's consciousness using that cornerstone, like maybe he found a way to capture his own consciousness or recreate it. Like I just don't know how that works, because like if that's not really you, like
Yeah.
I don't know. It's you, but it's not.
That's true.
I don't know. So much speculation.
Yeah.
Because would that be worth it even? Because if it's not literally, if it's me, but it's not. It's like with the Prestige. It's like, you remember?
Exactly, something
it's
like
like
that.
would that be worth? No, would that be worth it? Not to me.
Well, what if the version of him that died at the end of the season wasn't even him? What if he created his own bot? What if that? Remember when they show in the bottom of that house?
Yep.
They show that body being created.
Exactly.
What if that was him?
Create
and-
another one. So,
Well, he had Dolores shoot the clone of himself.
Mhm.
That way, all the survivors of that incident will say, "Oh yeah, Ford's dead," but
Yeah.
he's not really dead.
But then this doesn't. My only thing with that would be is he initiated the Wyatt Protocol,
Yeah.
and Wyatt had no problem killing Arnold.
Yeah.
So,
well, the other thing.
but
but-
Arnold knew he was going to kill him, right?
but all I'm saying is it's just like
Yes,
we're leading into a world now where Wyatt is going to lead like this robot revolution. Because, it's just like, dude, all the ones that were in cold storage were coming out of the woods.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like, everybody's going to start going haywire. Like, and it's because it's to the point now where you had enough key robot players to fuck with things like Maeve and stuff that, it's game on. Season 2, dude, for the robot revolution.
Breaking out into the different.
Because
areas of the facility.
have you guys seen the previews yet? Where it's just showing Dolores
on a rampage?
Yeah, on a rampage.
and it's just and then it'll cut to her like smiling in like the sun. It's just like this is a great world or something. Like this is our world or some shit.
Another thing I'm just going to speculate on is I think there's more than well, first of all, I think it's on an island because they talk about being on the mainland. I remember them bringing that up, right? And I also think there's going to be more than one place in Westworld, right? I think there's more than one place.
They
I
already
think
teased the samurai world.
right. They teased it with Samurai, and what's the other one? They talked about Shogun or something like that. They talked about. So I think
Shogun Samurai.
same thing, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So to me, I think there's going to be another place because they're like, oh, don't worry about that. That's something else. I forget who the hell's talking about it in the show, but they kind of like mention it.
As
or
they're
tease on it.
running, they're running through the rooms. They're like, it's complicated.
Yeah.
But I could see that. I could see the robots like banding together and then breaking out into the other areas of the facility, including those other worlds. Like, yeah, I don't know. There's so much they could do with it.
Also, I think
I just hope it's as complex and like unweaving as the first season.
Well,
I think it will be.
If I could just say this, because look at in the original movie, Westworld, you knew from the get-go that there was a Westworld, there was a medieval world, and then there was a Roman world. And as the main characters, as the robots went crazy, the main characters ended up, going through like all the worlds. And it was really fucking cool, I thought. So I really hope that they are able to tie that into this show.
Yeah, that'd be
I
cool.
would love to see, Dolores and Samurai Land.
That'd be pretty crazy.
That'd be pretty badass. I also think majority of the people that work at Westworld are hosts. Like, I don't think they're real people. I think they're robots. I think they're replicas of people, like real life people. But
well, right.
I don't think they're real people that work there, though.
The onboarding people in white, you remember?
We know that,
Elon
but I'm talking about the
Musk's
people that actually, like the
ex-girlfriend.
quality control people, and some people might be real, but I think majority are robots and do shit that do there. Could be wrong. I'm just
I could
speculating.
see that. You know, Ford over time could have been planting in people.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm super excited for next season, and I really do think there's going to be more to the Ford thing, and I think there's going to be more stuff that comes out that they didn't really talk and really tweak on in the first season. More we're trying to speculate on now about, but.
Dude, Ed Harris is going to be in hog heaven next. It's
murder
what he's been
robots.
waiting for, dude.
Right.
This is the game. This is it, dude. He's going to be.
What a vacation spot,
Dude,
Like,
just think
He's
about
been waiting
it.
his whole life for this.
I mean, seriously, if there was a vacation spot like this, I would save up all my money to go fucking there for 4 or 5 days and just have the craziest time of my life. Like, that'd be amazing. And to think about it, it could really happen in the future, but I mean, who knows if it would actually happen because of, AI taking over and doing all that stuff. They could get consciences and stuff like that. So, it's cool to think about, though, like if it could actually really happen.
Do you know what? Everything else aside, good point. Is the thoughts that this show creates have been more I'm not saying this is a complex show by any means, but there is a complexity there, at least for me personally, at my own level, where it was just making me think about things that it's just I either never thought about or haven't thought about in a long time, and I really like that about this. But it's not. I'm not trying to say this is like some thinking man show. You need to think deep to appreciate it. It's not like that by any means. But there are some big concepts here that it's just if you really want to fuck around with and dissect, it's some really interesting shit.
Yeah, I really like. I mean, I don't know. Anthony Hopkins is one of my favorite actors, so him being in this show just made it that much better. I don't know who else could play the role and do what he did, and I think Brand's touched on it before. Is apparently he's one of the highest paid actors or one of the best actors when it comes to doing his lines and doing his thing. It's
well, with him, I saw an interview. What he said, what he does is he reads the script, he just reads it over and over and over until it's he just knows all the words in his head. But then he'll just put away the script and just gestate, just let it sit there, and then he'll come back to it. And by the time he's ready to do it, he said he still knows all the lines, but he's reading them off like it's natural. It's not like he's remembering lines. It's he's repeated them so much and gone through the material.
Like
so
he
much
is the
that
character.
It's just second nature. Yeah,
That's crazy.
So the video I saw, they were talking. It was a video essay talking about his facial expressions and how he can convey so much emotion with just the split second facial expression, as he's talking. And they break down this short scene, but you see him go through these range of emotions so quickly. And as you're watching it, it's really hard to see in real time the all the nuance to it. But yeah, he's so good. He's up there.
Dude, in Sounds of the Lambs,
it's Hannibal. Yeah,
just what he did as Hannibal was amazing.
I love Mads Mikkelsen, but when I think of Hannibal, I think of Anthony Hopkins.
I mean, everybody does. Which, it sucks for Mads because hell of props to Mads because that TV show is fantastic and Mads is fantastic.
yeah.
But I mean, Anthony Hopkins is always going to be Hannibal.
Yeah, so and this season, dude, they have so many good actors in it. Ed Harris and Anthony Hopkins, of course.
It's a movie. This is a movie.
It is. It's like a mini movie, but a TV show series was made out of it, pretty much. So, yeah, I'm super excited for this. It's probably one of my most anticipated shows.
Soon.
Huh?
It's back. I'm glad it's back soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Seems
still,
the
wait's been
they
a
don't still don't
while.
have an official release date, have they?
April 22nd.
Oh, April 22nd. Dude, I'm gonna fucking shit myself when this thing comes out. I thought it was later in the summer or something, but
Apparently, there's a new puzzle this season too, similar to the maze.
Mm-hmm.
That's a visual puzzle. They were saying that that viewers can try to figure out as they watch. You know how because the first season
Yeah.
you watch it what's the maze? Everyone was trying to figure that out.
Yeah,
And apparently, some people did figure that out before it came out.
I'm sure.
But they're saying there's another one that's going to be this season.
That's crazy. That's
trying to
awesome.
figure
That's
out.
gonna be something just to sit there.
And that's what I
watch.
love about this show and these types of shows. When they're airing during the time, if you're in it and on the boards and stuff, and seeing all the speculation and stuff, it's cool because it's once it's gone, it's in the past. It's all the speculation's already out there. But as you're speculating episode by episode, it's people are trying to figure it out as they go.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, no, being when I started watching Lost, I think after season 2 or 3 is when I got into it. It was just so there were some years there where I was, one of the unfortunate people who watched that show week to week.
I
Because
could
it was
imagine
just
watching
like
that week to week.
it
Holy
was
shit.
insane. And then the biggest letdown in the world was the ending of that show, and it was just like
It did have some really good moments.
it did, but
I love the
would-
hatch. Like the hatch was good.
I would say watch up until the hatch because that was the season ending. It was like, oh, what's in the hatch?
Was that season
Watch
4 or 5?
No, that was like
season
two,
1 or 2.
two or
Oh,
three.
really?
Found
It's
the hatch
like
at the end of season 1, I think.
because I would argue, dude, like don't watch past 2 or 3 seasons, 2 or 3.
I think I
If
stopped.
you stopped at 1,
I
you're
sto-
good.
I stopped at 1. To
If
be
you
honest.
watched 1, like don't worry about what else happens on the island. Just stop.
Yeah, so, man, I feel like I could talk so much more on Westworld, but I'm just going to leave it at that. I don't know if you guys get any more theories
Well,
or
I mean,
speculations about it.
look at season 2. It's party time, dude. Seriously, I mean, you have Dolores / Wyatt is literally going to be leading a robot army through the world. To your point, is this an island? I hope for humanity's sake it is an island, because otherwise, because this goes beyond, a Jurassic Park kind of thing, because these are sentient beings, this is the most dangerous game here.
Well, and obviously the humans have some sort of technology to repair these robots. So it's like if the robots become
Take over those facilities.
yeah, learn how to repair themselves.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's the whole AI spectrum. The coolest thing about Westworld to me is, for the vacation spot, is like thinking that you can go somewhere and it's not pre-planned. Like, oh, I got all these vacation spots and I got to go all this shit. It's like you go there, you determine what you do for vacation, and like they got all these storylines and stuff, and it's like they change daily or whatever. They upload new stuff and the new content. It's like, that's perfect, dude. Like, what a cool place to go to experience. And be like, I'll tell you, I'm just gonna go drink some liquor and fuck this girl, and then go on a Western shootout with the sheriff and go catch somebody. And tomorrow I'm gonna wake up and do whatever. Like, you don't get to do that kind of shit nowadays. So it's cool to think of that type of feel. I wish that was a real thing, to be honest.
Yeah, you and millions of the rest of us. Trust me.
Yeah, the first time they did the hard reset on the robots, like because you didn't even know, right? Like you're just watching it, and they do a hard reset, all the storylines reset. You're like, oh, okay. It's like kind of weird the first time it happened.
Yeah, the first episode I remember watching, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, I didn't know if these people were real or if they were fake or whatever. And then when that happened, you're like, oh, okay, now I get what's going on type of feel. So, yeah, that'd be cool.
I wouldn't hurt a fly.
So I guess that's going to wrap up the podcast for episode 5. Hope you guys enjoyed what we speculated on for these TV shows in upcoming seasons.
And I hope you quadruple smash that subscribe button.
So don't forget to follow us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Give some feedback, what you guys like, what you didn't like, and we'll see you guys next time.